Let's go across to Vishnu Som. So Vishnu, we see there the visuals of the Indian Air Force inducting its first fleet of these attack choppers. And Vishnu, how exactly have they been customized to fit, to meet Indian requirements and fit Indian conditions?
Well, these helicopters come in various specifications. The variant of the helicopter we have acquired is the AH-64E, and it's built with systems which interface very easily through data links between the various helicopters as specified by the Indian Air Force. So the specifications are somewhat different from other variants of the helicopter which the United States operates. For example, the D variant of the AH-64, which has a system called the longbow radar. The ones that we've actually seen today don't possess that system. So to that extent, it's customized in a way which is slightly different from what, say, the United States operates. Communication systems on board, radio systems on board, the choice of weaponry is all customized to fit the requirements as specified by the Indian Air Force. These are, of course, all meant to operate in very hot conditions in the Rajasthan desert. The Apache helicopter, remember, Sarah, has done a lot of work, a lot of service in the battle, in the wars in Iraq, in engaging Iraqi tanks and other targets. With precision-guided weapons like the Hellfire missile. Now, that's a missile which the Indian AH-64E also comes armed with, whereby at fairly robust ranges of several kilometers, you're able to detect targets, for example, enemy tanks or fortifications, and hit them with precision. So that's something that these helicopters do. We already possess a helicopter of this class called the Mi-35, but they're getting old now. They're Russian helicopters, very sturdy. They've done incredible service for the Indian Air Force, but are now on their way out. And this is, of course, a completely different helicopter attack chopper of a completely different technological background and sophistication.
All right. And Vishnu, India has actually put in a order for 22, is that correct? And a fleet of 22 Apaches. When are the rest expected to be delivered and be put into force?
Air Force, and less than 10 for the Indian Army. There was a big dispute between the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force on who should be operating these attack helicopters. The Indian Air Force got the bulk of the orders, but the fact that the Indian Army has also got a small order of helicopters seems to indicate to many that perhaps there would be a subsequent order of Apache attack helicopters for the Indian Army. Now, the Indian Army hasn't received its first Apaches as yet. They'll come down in some time from now. But these helicopters are actually meant to protect and meant to travel with our armored formations across the Rajasthan desert in taking on enemy armored formations. And the thinking in the Indian Army was that they needed their integral helicopter support and that they didn't need to rely necessarily on the Indian Air Force's Apaches, whereas the Indian Air Force has always argued that they do the bulk of the flying and therefore they would provide that integral component to India's armored formations looking to go across the international border. So there will be more Apaches coming, but to answer your specific question, I believe it will be another couple of years, 2021, perhaps 2022 latest, by the time the last of the 22 Apache helicopters for the Indian Air Force are delivered.
All right, Vishnu Som, Defence Editor, thanks for joining us with those details. So again, a quick wrap for viewers who may be just joining us. The visuals you're seeing on your screen are coming in from the Air Force Base in Pathankot, and the Indian Air Force has formally inducted its 8 Apache attack helicopters, and by 2020, as Vishnu Som was pointing out there, the Indian Air Force by 2020-2021 will be operating a fleet of about 22 Apaches. The first deliveries were made ahead of schedule, and they have now been inducted after a ceremony this morning into the Indian Air Force. This is the first deliveries were made ahead of schedule. The AH-64E Apache for the Indian Air Force completed their first successful first flights in July. That was 2018, that was last year, and the first batch of the Indian Air Force crew began their training to fly the Apache in the US also in 2018. Choppers, we're told, will be used for ferrying heavy loads in the mountainous regions of Ladakh and other areas for the Army and the Air Force's requirements. And the order for the production, the training, the support of these attack helicopters, all of that had been placed and had been finalized by the Defence Ministry in 2015.